Do 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 do. Well, in theory, once again for 240 some odd shows, I get to say we're supposed to be live now.
Well, I got to tell you, X and Twitter is like, I just now got the Facebook notification, and X beats it every time. We don't even get it out of our mouth, and it's popping up that we're on X live.
That darn Elon is into it. I helped a customer set up. They live out in the middle of South or down in South Shreveport, out in the middle of nowhere. And I helped them set up a Starlink system about a month ago. We had to run some wire through their attic, big house, and all. But anyway, it has changed their lives because they barely had cell service and they couldn't even watch TV because they got rid of their cable and they wanted to do the, Fire Stick, Roku thing and all that. And it was buffering so bad. We put the Starlink in, ran that cable, got them. It has completely changed their lives. And they're retired folks. And they're taking care of their granddaughter, helping take care of her. So she needed it for school. And I mean, he's just a happy camper now with the Starlink. He's like, Elon is like the Tony Stark of reality.
The
Love him
Tony
or hate
Stark.
him, he is.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, look, I told someone literally today. They popped up and they say, "Hey, did you hear? I just learned today that Dan Bongino got made the deputy FBI director. Did you hear about that?" I'm like,
Where have you
"Yeah,
been?
like a bunch of days ago. It didn't happen today." I said, "No." I said, "Where did you find that out?" And they said, "Oh, I found it out on Facebook." And I said, "Look." I said, if you want to be informed and be informed, promptly and fast, you've got to get over on X. I said, because
Yeah,
you're not going to learn it on Facebook. You're just not going to get it there.
yeah, that's fairly true. All right, so I see those two videos that you have. Did you want me to go ahead and pull those up, or is that left over from last week? And folks, we're being very amateur tonight because I'm literally winging it tonight. Duke's got some
Yeah,
stuff put together, but you know,
yeah, no, it was a couple of things, and look, just like the person that was talking about, they just had the revelation that Dan Bongino got appointed to that. Well, it's a couple of clips that happened today on that found on X. I mean, and some of you probably hadn't heard this or even seen any of this yet, but the first one was an amazing cut. And the president and the vice president, the secretary of state, they were all meeting with the prime minister or whatever of Britain.
mm-hmm.
And if you recall, the vice president went over there and he gave a speech that everybody over there in Europe like lost their minds because he handed them their hat. He basically just told them the stuff you're doing is antithetical to a free republic or freedom.
Yeah.
And so now they're sitting here and a reporter asked the president sitting next to the British prime minister and said, you know, your vice president made some comments. Do you stand with them? Do you stand by them? And Trump said, well, he's sitting right here. Why don't we let him answer the question? and you got to listen to what he said.
All right, so let's do this. And look, folks, I want to let y'all know. So we're up to about 60 something people watching. You're definitely gonna want to tag some friends and text some friends and all that because the audio that we're going to play of Vince Maggio with a play-by-play, by the way, is hilarious. All right, so here we go. Yeah, I want to see this. Let's listen.
I said, which is that we do have, of course, a special relationship with our friends in the UK and also with some of our European allies. But we also know that there have been infringements on free speech that actually affect not just the British. Of course, what the British do in their own country is up to them, but also affect American technology companies and by extension, American citizens. So that is something that we'll talk about today at lunch.
We've had free speech for a very, very long time in the United Kingdom, and it will last for a very, very long time. Well, no, I mean, certainly we wouldn't want to reach across US citizens, and we don't, and that's absolutely right. But in relation to free speech in the UK, I'm very proud of our history there.
We discussed all this.
So
What's interesting is they don't have quite the. I mean, look, the truth is our speech is limited here as well too. In some cases, but in Britain, it's even more limited.
yeah, that absolutely, and that's what basically JD Vance went over there and punched him in the jaw. And when the reporter, that clip didn't show it, but when the reporter asked the question, JD Vance, his first words were, "I meant what I said," and and, and he didn't hold back. And God, that Prime Minister of Britain, he had to, I don't know, he had to take it.
Well, look,
Anyway,
and that one little more thing about Trump that I want to observe too is, when JD Vance or anybody else is talking or in the room, they show deference to the president, blah blah blah, and all that. But Trump lets them speak. I mean, you know, uh, he lets Elon interrupt him, or he may interrupt Elon, but it's not this pomp and circumstance type of situation or dog and pony show, like I like to call it. He lets them say their mind.
yeah,
So,
he's not holding back on any of it. So, look, we're gonna take a ride around. I think you said we're gonna play some Vince Maggio audio. There was an event that happened. I think it was Tuesday night, if that's correct.
well, I don't
Um,
I don't know if you call it an event, an incident. I don't know exactly what to call it, but yeah, there was an event that happened. It was apparently Tuesday, sometime late afternoon, early evening. I don't know. Apparently after the city council meeting, and we have, I think, the exclusive audio on it, and it involved Colonel Crockett. So we're going to have Colonel Crockett on to give us the play-by-play. As a matter of fact, he's ringing in and in the guest room. So when we come out of the break, we'll kind of get into that and let him give the play-by-play. But it is entertaining to say the least.
it is entertaining, and I think that this story is already kind of percolating out there amongst folks, and because I've already had quite a few screenshots sent to me of people's comments on other people's pages, with people making assertions about right and wrong, and somebody did this or somebody did that, and I don't think they have a grasp of the facts by what I have gleaned so far. And I think if they're honest, if they're honest, they might want to retract some of the comments that they're putting out there. I, I just and look, I've got my criticism, and I'm going to challenge Colonel Crockett a little bit when we get into this. But I think people may have a revelation here. I mean, would you? Is that what you think?
Yeah, and look, just to kind of tee it up a little bit more, apparently this involved Bossier PD. So there will also be a report forthcoming on all this. Who knows? Maybe even some body cam to corroborate some of the stories on both sides that are being told. But we're going to get the Colonel's side. And look, hey, Vince, you know how to get a hold of us. You're more than welcome to come on the show if you want to. No problem. Open invitation. We'll give you the platform, let you tell your side. But be ready for some not quite so softball questions. So,
Well,
in fairness,
that's nice, and that sounds all good, but the reality is Vince is running a stealth campaign. Vince isn't going to come on any show. He's not going to take any challenging questions. He won't even go to Republican women or to the Nobo lunches and speak and take questions. So why should you think that he would take questions from anybody else? He's not going to do that.
it's almost like
Um,
he feels entrenched and entitled already.
Entitled. Entitled is an appropriate word, I would think. So, in addition to that, I mean, and like you said, nobody else has this audio. I mean, we appreciate it being, sent to us so that we can, I guess you could say, break it. Um, the other part, we're going to cover the city council meeting because there were some interesting things that happened at the Bossier City Council meeting and the Bossier Parish Police Jury meeting. There were some entertaining things there as well too. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be an interesting night. All right. Well, let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and try to hit the correct button this week and do our little countdown, folks. For those of you that have been watching for a long time, everybody knows the drill. This gives you about 2 or 3 minutes or so to go make your popcorn, make your stiff drink. You're going to need it tonight.
You're gonna need it. Yep.
And
We're gonna challenge people's beliefs and your viewpoints on things tonight. And some of you are not going to like it. And if y'all don't like it, and go onto YouTube, you can watch it on YouTube. If you got friends that that just go to YouTube and watch it from there.
yeah,
I'll leave
tag
it
your
there.
friends, text your friends. Look, tag Vince, text Vince, tell him we're on. We're talking about him. Tell Vince to come on. I can make a screen with another little spot in just a matter of a few minutes. All right. Anyway, so with that said, I'm going to hit the right button tonight. We're going to go to the countdown, do the intro. We will be back in about 2.5 or 3 minutes. Y'all share this out, like it, tag it, do all that good stuff. We will be right back.
If folks knew a lot of the back office on the politicians that they think walk on water, they would be shocked. There's an old wound from a knife in my back that just is giving me heck lately, and it's just really irritating, so I have to kind of wiggle around a little bit.
I titled it A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys.
Just, they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
Some Republicans as well believe that government has the answers. And let me tell y'all something. I don't know anything government does well. Nothing.
Aren't there laws that say that you have public meetings so that the public can have accountability of their elected officials?
As a member of the media, I'm very concerned about what I've just heard.
Well, I'm not thinking Star Wars at all. I'm thinking zombie apocalypse.
All folks coming from the border down there?
Yeah, it's going to border. It's actually going to Mexico, the buses.
Doesn't mean they interpret it the same way that I do. For instance, the Second Amendment. I take it very literally. That's been interpreted different ways in the court system all the way up to SCOTUS. We're still right now combined on both pages and YouTube at 264 people watching. That is amazing, folks. Through conscious shocking actions, which in turn would enrich sitting city council members Scott Irwin and David Montgomery Jr. In theory, it's an every week thing. We got to double check and make sure it's like a miracle any of this actually works. This live broadcast is brought to you by the Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 25 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting. Reach out to Julie Ferris. SmarterGeek, making technology easier. And folks sharing information and watching out. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go.
And we're back. After tonight, I may have to add Vince to the show intro. He may get to grace the show intro along with your mask.
I got to tell you, yeah, he may. So Duke's been chopping wood. I mean, what? Duke's getting a bushy beard going on. Y'all are just now noticing. I've been working on this for months.
Okay, so where do we want to start first? So shall we just go ahead and bring the Colonel on and go ahead and get right into the video?
Well, yeah, we can do that, or we can just right out of the gate. Let's just play the audio, then bring the Colonel in. What do you
say?
Which way you want to do it? I don't care.
Yeah, we can do that. So let me see if I click the right buttons here. Hold on to set this up. So the Colonel will be there watching this video with us. And so, Colonel, when I hit the button, you'll be live. But let's just watch this, like you said, Duke, watch it all the way through, and then we'll comment on it. So
we're killing some people in the comments. They're all excited. I like it. We'll see. Maybe we should drag it out a little more.
Maybe we should just keep stretching that line out. All right, here we go. Fire in the hole.
Hey, ma'am.
I have 3 signs of Vince's that people said they didn't give him approval for, that they told me to throw them away, but I want to give them back to Vince so he can use them somewhere else. Well, they did, because I just came from one house that had a big sign that was on her property.
What address is this? I get the sign.
Oh yeah, come with me. It's on Benton Road. But I wasn't going to throw it away, and I told him, the woman kept saying, just tear it up. But I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give Vince the sign back. It's on Benton Road, down almost towards close to the interstate. And then there's 2 more. There was another house. Oh, help me get this. You get here. I don't want to mess up his signs. I mean, I'm trying to be fair about all this stuff.
You're the first person I talked to that actually is like a Christian.
Hey, we'll get those in a minute. Don't worry about those followers.
Hey,
No, I mean, it's brutal enough, but
yeah.
Well, let me tell you, I know you wouldn't do this like this, but some of those college-age kids that are going around there, they were trying to intimidate one of my.
Where did these signs come from?
Over on Benton Road.
Where at on Benton Road?
North of, it was, I can't remember her name, but she's friends with, what's her name? She's friends with.
But you took them out of her yard?
The woman who told me to take it out. The woman who told me to take it out. She said it's on my property line and I don't want it.
But you can't stop them when they run.
No, that's not true. You can't put a sign. You can't put a sign where nobody wants it. Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't want to, and there's 2 more signs in there that people, I'll tell you where they were. One was like, but they're doing things like, I had 2 signs on this woman's house, and they took our signs out, and the woman was almost crying when I went there. The people are intimidating, these college kids are intimidating some of these older women. I'm telling you, I'm going to talk to Vince, but, I mean, I don't like what Vince is doing. Hey. What do you say? Okay.
And go put them back up.
Let's go talk to the woman who said take it down.
And they know what. Oh, I had permission, man.
Come with me.
I had permission.
Come with me.
God, you tell her to get down here. I don't put a sign up till I talk to the people.
You can't tell us it. And here's the thing.
No. You on my property. I'm telling you.
You want to give me the name?
Yeah, give me the name. I talk to everybody. Everybody.
Well, you can.
No. I don't trust you. Throw it out. Throw this store, boy.
What?
Vince, you're doing that because
no, it ain't no
Did
Vince.
you pull your stuff off the website?
I didn't put it outside.
Did you block Westbury?
No, I don't have to watch. I don't watch people like you. You're trash. I don't have to watch. Yeah. You go put my signs back up or you go to jail.
No, you're not.
Oh, yes, I am.
Because I'm going to sue you.
Oh, I want to sue you. You ain't got nothing. I'm telling you that. Y'all put sign up.
I'm kind enough to bring your sign back.
No, you took my sign up, boy.
You took my signs down,
I don't touch. No, I ain't touch no sign.
4,300
pound lead. Yeah. No way. I put signs up. No, my people ain't never. Don't hand me this.
Your people were out there intimidating Cassie Mae Rogers when she was campaigning.
No, sir.
You just told me somebody else was intimidating.
Yeah.
You didn't tell me that. You
I
lie.
said.
You said college kids was intimidated, so you
the college kids were intimidating Cassie Mae Rogers.
No,
when she was at a door.
No, sir, you was scared. You scared that college kid. No, listen, boy. I'm telling you, I can't fool with you.
I got 2 more signs for you.
And the boy's
You can't tell me
trash.
to put signs where they don't want them, Vince.
Hell, what you talking about? They want mine more than yours.
I'm being kind enough to give your signs back to you.
No. You don't make put signs up. No.
But you've taken down signs.
I ain't took no signs.
Yes, you have.
Oh, you crazy, boy.
4,300 Brownlee.
Oh, I ain't took no signs.
Don't talk to the woman. She's a retired military wife.
That don't mean
She was almost crying because your people intimidated her.
Intimidate? That's a lie, mister.
Cause you been lying on us. I ain't did nothing.
Vince, I know you're kind.
Oh, you know you're kind. I know you're kind, miss, and you know good.
The truth is the kindness, but you don't have it, Vince. You're intimidating people. That's why the woman was almost crying.
Oh no, that's you. You lying to it. You listen to me, mister.
You are worried because you're in here in front of your people.
I just got out of the counselor. No.
Hey, you're right, because I'm calling you out for the crap you're doing.
You calling me out, no.
Hey Vince, did you block?
I didn't block nobody.
Oh, you didn't block nobody?
No, I got my own phone.
So,
I don't have to listen to
your
y'all
Facebook,
talk.
you didn't block West Marriott?
I don't. Yeah, I need an officer at Mad Joe's Grocery.
Did you block West Marriott?
Come on. Oh, I got a man down here that took my signs down. It's Colonel Crockett.
He didn't say boy.
Or man or trash.
My boy Crockett.
Yeah, he's still here, yeah.
But anyway, y'all are working for somebody that's not honest.
Oh, I'm on his way. Man, what you talking about, boy?
Huh?
All right, so that's the end of it. Whoops, we got to change Duke over to Duke, not me.
Oh.
Whoops, two of me. So let me give you my first impressions. You went from man to trash to boy to Mister. He's just all over the place.
The
What's your
liar.
yeah, the liar. What's your take?
Liar.
Duke? Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm curious. When he was talking to the police, he called you by your title, Colonel Crockett, because he knew that was, I think, being recorded. But when he was dealing with you personally there, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I mean, it has to be assumed he was being recorded. He had no normal language to describe you other than remarks that were disparaging. So I got to ask this question because other people may be asking, why did you go there? That seems almost like you were going there to challenge him. Were you going there to challenge him and going there to try to cause a scene?
Well, I mean, let me give you a little bit of context. First of all, I was only going there because I needed to get the signs there before I went to the Republican Women of Bossier meeting. I was in a hurry. So what happened was the previous week when I was going through neighborhoods, and I knock on every door, whether there's a Vince sign or not. And when I talk to people and share with them, they tell me I don't even know Vince. They say things like, I don't know who it was that put a sign here. Uh, somebody came and knocked on the door. I said they could put a sign there. They're not necessarily Vince voters, but so I'm kind of a Vince Maggio sign is a magnet for me. I want to go talk to them and find out who they are and why they're voting for Vince because I don't think they know Vince. Basically, the why is because it was announced at the PEC about 2 weeks ago that I formed a PAC that I'm going out on my own schedule, walking neighborhood to neighborhood, house to house to try to inform people about Vince Maggio's and Jeff Darby's voting record because they're the only two people that are running from the last council that were against term limits. So that's my why. So basically, I'm doing this as one person. Of course, anybody can join me that wants to go do this. But what I'm doing is I've put a little bit of information together and I put it on people's doors. But I talk to them about why are you voting for Vince Maggio? And 9 times out of 10, they say I don't know Vince Maggio. There are some people that know Vince Maggio, but so what I did was a couple of days before the weekend. A couple of people right off of Benton Road said, I don't want his sign here. One woman said, I don't know who put it up. And then on Monday, no, it's Tuesday after the city council meeting, one of my friends who has been involved with us in term limits for a while, I'm not going to name any names because I don't want anybody to attack anybody else like Vince attacked me. But somebody called me and said, one of my friends said that Matt Joe's got a sign on her yard on Benton Road, and it's on my property, and I never gave him permission, and she wants it out. So after the city council meeting, I went with her over to the lady's house, and she built the house about 25 years ago, mows the yard every day. She takes care of it. She knows where her boundaries are, and she said, that sign over there, there's a big sign. It barely had to fold it to put in the back of my car. But I picked up the sign, and my whole intention, when I had removed 2 signs from the previous week where people said they didn't want Vince Maggio's sign in their yard. So I had those in my car, and I was waiting. And then on Tuesday, I thought, well, I'll just take all 3 of those over to Vince's property. I believe that I didn't know this at the time. I thought if I take his sign out, that's his property. But I don't think that I think there's a question whether it's even Vince's property once he puts it on somebody's yard. But I didn't want to make a mistake. So, and I was going to be generous to Vince and just bring the signs back to Vince so he can put them somewhere else. I don't care where he puts his signs. I think they mean very little. I don't think that they mean that they're even voters for Vince. So I picked up her sign, and she said, you could just destroy it. You don't have to give it back to him. I can use the posts in my yard. And I said, no, I'm going to treat it like it's Vince's property. I'm going to take it over to the store. I didn't think Vince would be there because I thought he'd be at the Republican Women of Bossier meeting that night. So I thought I would just go and put them against the wall if they were closed. I don't even know the store hours, but that's the why, and that's how it came about.
All right, so I got a question. Have you got a set of those little bull balls that hang off the back of your car?
I do have one of those sets that goes. I can turn it around and it goes forward.
Okay. So, all right, and Duke, if you got a question, fire off or whatever. All right, so that gets us to the point that you've been out there walking and doing your thing on your own, and you come across these people that don't want the vent signs there. You're, in your own mind, being nice and generous and going to take them back over to Vince. And gosh, I'm sure you meant to stir up no controversy doing that whatsoever. So,
well, no, Now, I had concerns going over there because I've only been to Vince's store a couple of times, but I really truly did not expect Vince to be there because we had just had the city council meeting, and I thought he was going to go to Republican Women of Bossier. So I was really just trying to bring the signs. I figured the store would be open because it's like a 7-Eleven type store.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, so
yeah, walk us through
that gets us to where we are.
Yeah, so, and Duke, fire off if you need to, but walk us through the point of what happened. So go ahead, Duke.
Well, I want to pose this one question because Marianne Johnson says she says you had to have known there would be that would cause trouble, and I would say that she's probably right because you recorded the interaction. Why did you do that? I mean, you
number one
knew the propensity or suspected it or what?
Well, when you go into that environment, it's intimidating anyway. There are. I know I've been in Vince's store once before. He hires some older adult men that are kind of what people describe as his enforcers around the store. And if anything was said to me, I was concerned about the truth getting out. And too many times when you talk to Vince, he says what he wants to say. And if he was there, I think I needed to have something to record what happened so that the truth would come out, because Vince tends to lie, just like exactly as I expected from his personality. The boy this, the boy that. If I said that to anybody in the world, people think that Vince is the nicest man in Bossier City. No one would ever believe that this is the thug Vince that you actually run into around his store. I don't know if he was acting for the men around him, that he wanted to be powerful, but I'll get into the intimidation factor later on, but I'm really glad I recorded it.
So So did in fact, I mean, because when I heard part of that, the one guy said when you first showed up with the signs, he said, "Well, you're doing the most Christian, or you're this election thing. You're the most Christian person I've seen," or something to that effect. I mean, that guy had a positive viewpoint of what your stated reason was, but then it all turned, it sounded like, and I heard a lot of voices. How many people were standing around you? Were all of the guys that you describe as his enforcers, were all of them kind of around you? Were they trying to intimidate you, you felt like?
Well, here's the way it happened was the first part of the audio that you heard me going in and talking, and then one of the women that's working in the store, and I couldn't tell if that was Maggio's wife because I don't know her from Adam or Eve. So I walked into the store, and there was one black man, that's the nice guy that you were talking about that I was talking to at first, and he kind of challenged me that, we put signs where we wanted to, kind of what he said. And I said, you can't just put a sign anywhere you want. And then she started asking me what the address was. I was inside the store when that was happening. And then, he saw that I was trying to help Vince because I told him I was just trying to return the signs rather than destroy them. So he walked out, and then my car was parked right in front. And I opened up the back hood, so I'm right in front of the store. No one was around us at that time. We got the big sign out and then walked around to the back of Vince's store, which is a little bit weird because you're in the back of it's like a sign production facility where Vince has all his sign work going on. And he and I are just doing that cordially. That's when he's making the commentary about you're the nicest guy that's ever done anything. So they've obviously had some other interface with people that wasn't so good. But anyway, so we were walking back towards the car, and that's when Vince comes up with about 5 big old guys, and some of them were standing behind me and right beside Vince and on the other side of Vince. I think that's the way I recollect the way it was. And yes, it was intimidating because Vince was right in front of my face. So when you see Vince, and you can't, the volume of what you're listening to right there, my phone was in my pocket. Vince was yelling at me.
And
So
hence,
you're not getting the.
hence, so everybody knows that was the graphic for today's show with Vince and the big guys standing behind him. That was the inspiration for that. Okay, continue on, Colonel. So you got these 5 big guys and Vince standing there, and we heard the conversation. We'll release this, on Facebook and all that too. But take us from that point. I mean, at that point, what were you thinking? Were you thinking, oh my goodness, they're going to try to do something malicious? What were you thinking?
Well, really, number one, I think in my whole adult life, I always try to treat people with kindness and always try to do the right thing. And what you've always heard about Vince is you think that Vince is going to treat you with kindness and do the right thing. So I was blown away by the stupidity of how he was trying to address me because I've never been addressed like that in my life. So I started to think, really, in the back of my mind, I mean, I've had to deal with some low IQ individuals at certain points in my life. I've sold door to door. I've done a lot of things where people have said ugly things to me and I just back off. And that's kind of, I started to back off. And then I started thinking, well, I've got to answer these questions. He was trying to tell me to go put the signs back in their yard, and he was yelling at me, and these guys are around me. I thought he was trying to push me to the point of getting angry or getting in his face, and he's got all these thugs around me, and they didn't really act like thugs, but they were there ready to, because they were right next to me. And so I did think in the back of my mind, he didn't say anything where he was threatening me, except he was going to put me in jail. But I
Well,
thought this could go wrong.
How did he think he was going to put you in jail? Was he going to use influence to do that?
Well, when he called the police, he didn't really, he kind of just, they probably recognized their phone numbers because they're city council. But yeah, I think he was going to use his influence. So to me, here's what I think the average person listening to this needs to take out of this. Vince did not go there to gather information. He went there when he saw me. he was going to prosecute. So I never deal with things that way. If Vince had said, "Well, look, you heard me invite him, Vince. Let's just go to the house. Come get in the car. You can ride." I mean, I would have done anything he wanted to do because that's what eventually, I did with the policeman, and we'll get into that later.
Yeah, I mean, look, as a candidate, that's what he should have done, and he should have taken that opportunity as a candidate to turn this around and maybe go out there and talk to the people and listen to their concerns and why they did or did not want the sign in the yard. But that wasn't his first reaction, as we heard on the audio there.
Well, and the way I view that in military terms, you might say that he fired, shot, or fired, aimed, and then observed. He never did it the way you should do it, which is you ought to observe, aim, and then fire. He didn't think about what he was doing, and unfortunately, my experience with Vince, I don't know. I learned a little bit more about him all the time.
Yeah, and I want to remind everybody before. Hold on, Duke. Ferris says, invite the boy to the show for rebuttal. He is invited. All he has to do is call, and we'll bring him on with the colonel. He can try to refute everything. All right, sorry, Duke. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's quite all right. So,
go ahead.
Well, so Colonel, so you've been knocking on doors, and in which I've heard that you were, and you're going to doors, and because I've heard some other feedback from people campaigning, and I've heard that some people. Have you had anybody tell you that? Because you said you're going to Maggio signs, where Maggio and talking to the people. Have you had anybody tell you that they were scared?
No, and let me.
No,
I think that's
I'm
a
saying
good.
that they're scared to consider anyone else other than Maggio, or that if they didn't have the sign, were they scared? That's what I'm meaning.
No, I understand your question now. A lot of the people that I talk to say, "Well, I know Vince Maggio. I'm not going to take down a sign, but I'm not voting for him." And I think that and I have gotten a few people that have indicated, like you're saying, Duke, is that I know Vince. He lives down the street. You see his street all covered, but there are people. I don't know if I would call it intimidated. I don't think he's walking around intimidating people to put his sign up. But I think what's happening is that they're afraid because everybody thinks Vince is the nicest guy in the world, and if I don't put a Vince sign up there, then Vince is going to hold it against me.
Right, but there's a level they feel intimidated and they feel like they have no choice, and
right,
I would contend maybe they do really know Vince, whereas you don't know Vince, and tonight, or what we have played, and maybe we need to play it again because I see there's quite a few more folks that have come in the show that may not have heard it. I'm thinking maybe we need to play it again, Rex, while we've got Colonel here, or maybe we stop it as we go along to each part, because there was a couple of things that I forgot now. I want to listen to it again, and everybody else, this is the first time they've heard it. So let's play it again, and let's break it down as we go.
We can do that. So we'll just play it. I'll play it along, and then Colonel, if you or Duke wants me to pause it for a second, just speak up. So here we go.
Hey, ma'am. I have 3 signs of Vince's that people said they didn't give him approval for, that they told me to throw them away, but I want to give them back to Vince so he can use them somewhere else. Well, they did, because I just came from one house that had a big sign that was on her property.
What address is this? I get the sign.
Oh yeah, come with me. It's on.
So I want to stop right there and ask you. So it seems to me at that point that they're pretty cordial and receptive. That was, I guess, store employees or friends of Vince's or whatever.
Yeah, there were 2 women behind the counter. That one was talking over the counter, and there was this black man, really nice guy, that came up beside me when I was talking, and he was the really cordial guy that helped me carry the first sign. And by the way, I did want to one thing that I didn't tell you earlier. One of the women, I don't know if it was Miss Maggio. I'd have to see her picture because I've never met the woman. But if it was her, it's embarrassing because she was walking around with her phone trying to get in my face. She was a little bit back, but she was like, thumbing it at me like, everyone was there to intimidate. It was an awful experience when I really went there to do what I thought was the right thing. If nothing had happened and I'd gone home, this audio would have been deleted. I wouldn't have needed it.
Right.
But it appears that it was wise for me to record it.
All right, here we go. Yeah, because when we get through with this, we need to get into the Bossier PD. Bossier PD side. So here we go.
But I wasn't going to throw it away, and I told him, the woman kept saying, just tear it up. But I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give Vince sign back. Over on it's on Benton Road, down almost towards close to the interstate. And then there's two more. There was another house. Oh, help me get this. You get here. I don't want to mess up his signs. I mean, I'm trying to be fair about all this stuff.
You're the first person I talked to that's actually like a Christian.
We'll get those.
Nice compliment.
So stop it. At that point, I don't think he realized that you're not a Vince supporter. Otherwise, I don't think he would have given you that compliment.
Well, he was just a nice guy. I mean, he was the front guy in the store, and I don't know where Vince was. He must have been hovering around the back or somewhere because I had no idea Vince was anywhere around. But yeah, he was a nice guy.
All right. Keep going.
No, I mean it's brutal enough, but
yeah.
Well, let me tell you, I know you wouldn't do this like this, but some of those college-age kids that are going around there, they were trying to intimidate one of
Where did these signs come from?
Over on Benton Road. Can you pause for a second, Rex?
Yeah.
I want to give everybody context about one of my friends. Of course, I bump into Cassie Mae Rogers all the time, and Cassie shared with me a few days ago, I don't know when it was, that she was out campaigning, which I don't even know what neighborhood she was in. But some college-age kid came in and they had a Vince Maggio T-shirt on, and Cassie was at the door talking to somebody, and the person was yelling over Cassie, trying to intimidate the person who was listening to Cassie. That she was yelling Vince Maggio information. And Cassie, if you're listening, you can maybe comment, but I'm not seeing any of the comments. But the other thing that happened is the person went right in front of Cassie and started talking to the next house, and then comes out and puts a sign out in front of Cassie. So that's what I was trying to refer to there.
So this is like a competition. I mean, like an Olympic sport almost, apparently.
Well, and I'm going to share one more thing, and it's not exactly in theme, but it does go with this. In my experience, since I formed the pack and since I started doing this, I started out at first in Brownlee, and this college-age kid comes up to me, and he sees that I'm putting something out, and he just kind of yells at me and says, I just want you to know that Vince is for term limits. And I said, what do you mean he's for term limits? He said, he's for the kind the Bossier City, no, he's the kind like the legislature has. Has anybody heard Vince say he's for term limits?
Well, we've heard the opposite of that.
I've heard the opposite at that. I think it was a Sobo meet or someone in South Bossier where he said, I made a mistake and I had somebody. My head wasn't in it. Let me for the record, I'm against term limits. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm going to share one more thing with you because one of Vince's friends that I was talking to in one of the neighborhoods, I'm not going to name it because it's a small neighborhood and Vince might only have a few neighbor friends in that area. But the guy told me, he said, I've known Vince forever, but I'm not voting for Vince Vince lied when he said on Facebook that he's for term limits, and then every vote he's taken has been against term limits. So I think that there's a lot of mood that we don't hear about. Vince thinks he's got a lot of friends that are going to vote for him, and there are some people that are just not believing Vince anymore. So I think that's a pretty decent summary of what I'm finding.
Well, it concerns me that they're, because like I said this evening, I've had someone send me screenshots of people, that are Vince supporters, and they even have already, they're describing this situation with the signs as you stealing the signs and trying to cast it as Vince being the victim here. And that's not the case. And in fact, one comment was describing him as an angel in the situation. And the, I, I mean, I already know the rest of this story pertaining to what took place with ultimately with the Bossier City Police. And what I'm curious about is the people that are advocating for Vince and saying that he does no wrong, that the bad guys are everybody on the other side of the fence of this thing, and that everything they're saying is a lie. Vince supports term limits. Clearly, he doesn't support term limits. His own words said it. He voted against it every time. He forced lawsuits and still has not addressed the fact that, almost 3 judges akin his actions to malfeasance in office. He's not once publicly addressed any of that. And we're getting reports from people saying that they feel intimidated. I mean, and you went down there and experienced intimidation. I mean, I have to beg the question, is this the kind of governance in Bossier from a councilman that we're supposed to have? Is this what you're supposed to have? Anyway, I went off on a tangent. I guess we need to get back
No,
on
Duke,
track.
let me make a comment about what you're saying. I've gone to almost every city council meeting since Tommy had trouble getting St. Cheatham as CAO, and I've never heard Vince speak about anything. I think Vince is a little bit intimidated in public. He's inarticulate. He can't convey a message other than thuggery is what I believe right now. So I hate to give that kind of I'm not going to make it a stealth criticism anymore because I really believe that's the case. And I think that's
Well, Rex, pull the council meeting back over, because I want to go back to the first thing in the council meeting. And Colonel, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Some people would say that you are antagonizing, and by going down there, your actions of going down there with the signs were antagonizing. And it even began earlier at the council meeting, right out of the gate. And we're going to play your comments to the council and then get your take on it. Were you trying to antagonize, including Maggio, to earlier in the day at that meeting? So play it, Rex.
All right, here we go.
Phyllis, do we have any ceremonial matters today?
No, sir.
Okay.
We do have a request for an add-on. It would be new business number 12. Adopt a resolution authorizing the hiring of one building maintenance employee due to a vacancy from retirement. And it's a first and final reading. And this item is being asked to be added on due to the necessity to fill this position.
So moved. Second. Council, any questions about adding this on? Any comments from the public?
David Crockett, 653 Domain Drive, Bossier City, Louisiana. Sorry. Yeah, I'd like to have something added on. I believe every time during this season, whenever you're having elections, that you should discuss the way to ethically run a campaign. And I think it should be discussed at this meeting, if not the next meeting. But Jeff Darby and Vince Maggio have blocked people from their Facebook sites. Those are not good campaign practices. Those are not good campaign practices. I'm speaking to you, Mr. President.
This is
I'd like to have this added to your agenda to discuss
recognized,
today.
okay?
Oh, I'm not.
No, sir. This is not on the agenda. We're not going to talk about it.
You're right, but I get to comment on the agenda. Is that your agenda,
Not
Mr.?
on the agenda.
Your
about
agenda
items
is
on
that
the
I get to comment on the agenda. That's would you please read the item again, ma'am?
You do not request anything from our city clerk.
Are you the president, sir?
I would recommend that
Is he the
be-
president?
that he
Do you know
be
how to run a
stopped
meeting, Mr. President?
Or have him removed.
Is your councilman running your
David,
meeting?
you're
All
not
right,
gonna
here's
speak
the
about it,
thing.
okay?
Mr. Maggio blocked people from his site.
This is
Mr.
not- this has
Darby
nothing to
blocks
do with our
people
council
from his
meeting, okay?
site. So
Nothing to
I
do
want
with
that
it.
to be
Now, if you
discussed in
sit
this
down,
meeting,
or we'll
giving
get
me
you- we'll get you
15
escorted
days.
out of here, okay?
Listen, for your attorney
No,
to give
you
me
sit down or
15
we're
days.
going to get you escorted out of here.
For 15 days
Go ahead,
for
sit
a
down.
public information request to come out when
Just sit
I need
down,
my
okay?
questions answered.
Rex, I
Did you
think
hear?
Colonel would have listened. If he'd have just said boy, I think Colonel would have heard him.
That's right. Boy or trash or whatever.
You know, Montgomery doesn't. I guess he needs to go to Vince's freezer a little bit and get trained on the use of boy.
Well, so Colonel, I gotta ask. I mean, it seemed like you were antagonizing them there. I mean, come on, you got to give me a little bit. Even I have to acknowledge you were ribbing them a little bit, weren't you?
Well, all right. Let me give you the gist of the whole thing. If you didn't know that I had submitted a public information request as soon as Jeff Darby blocked me, he blocked me altogether. I cannot see his Facebook site that he uses for campaigns. Then about 4 or 5 days ago, Wes Marriott, who had commented on Vince Maggio's site, told me that he had been blocked on Maggio's site. So, but I submitted 11 days ago, 12 days ago, a public information request on all the training, all of the information that they do from an ethics perspective about what to do for campaigns and things like that. I didn't know that I would get anything, but I had about 12 questions that I gave to the city attorney. Now, he gave himself 15 days, and that was frustrating to me, but I thought surely he would get it done before now, that's something that he could answer with most of those questions, yes or no. So my concern was that here we are in the campaign season, and I want these councilmen, and there's nothing, Bossier City's meeting agenda does not allow open comments like the police jury does. They want to control it. They don't want the public to speak. We have traditionally used the comment on the agenda to try to add something just like they do. And when they have public comments on the agenda and I'm trying to get something added because I think they're missing something, in Bossier City itself, the credibility of this government depends on whether the people get a chance to speak or not, and they weren't going to let me speak. And I'm going to say something to people who don't understand Robert's Rule of Orders or don't ever deal with it. The only reason that I kept talking through that, I didn't want to be rude to anybody, but they were going to cut me off after 3 minutes. And they use that all the time. So if you don't continue with what you're trying to say, they're going to limit your speech.
I got to stop you there, Colonel. So you got to hand it to Jacobs because he doesn't know whether they use Robert's Rules of Order or not. I mean, we've played that audio over and over, even though they literally, approved it more than once. But anyway, just thought I'd bring that up and remind everybody.
Well, and let me make one other comment that for somebody who hasn't watched too many council meetings, David, what I was trying to say during that comment by David Montgomery is the president is supposed to run his meeting. David Montgomery runs the meeting from the side, and that's very disruptive to any sort of order. In order to use any rules, because they will tell you repeatedly, direct your comments to the president. And then you've got 3 or 4 people commenting to you. And then if you comment direct to David Montgomery, they're going to shut you down and run you out. So I've done this for 2.5 years, like you guys have done for maybe 10 years. And you see how they treat people. So that's not the way to treat the public. And I think that that's another
reason for my behavior. And I don't want people to think that I went there to intimidate them. I want people to know in Bossier City, first of all, that that's what's going on in the city, that you're two guys who do not believe in term limits, and they're listing all these accomplishments that they've done that are half truths, that somehow you've got to deal with that with honesty. And Duke or Rex, either one of you, I wish you would address the fact about the constitutionality, or when you have a public site where you're campaigning on that you cannot shut anybody's comments down. Is that correct?
Well, so let's back up and I'll try to keep this brief. Let's back up to the first lawsuit that was filed and went all the way to SCOTUS. Oh, I think it was Knight v. Trump, where the Trump administration was sued for that. Now, that never really did get decided for the most part at SCOTUS because Trump left office, and so the case became a moot point. There has been case law since then. I don't think all the way up to SCOTUS, but I think in some of the district court or appellate courts and all that, that does lend credence to the fact that if they're using their social media as a campaign outlet, disseminating public information in a campaign or a elected official from a elected stance, that it does qualify that they cannot really restrict, and I'm being a little lenient in my speech here, but they cannot restrict free speech or block. Now, I'm sure there would be exceptions if somebody is obviously trolling or using, extreme language or something like that. There would always be exceptions, but they can't shut you down just because you say something they don't like, or they can't shut you down because you're not a constituent. I have news for Jeff Darby and all of them. They might be elected by the people in their district, but they are city councilmen paid, not much, but paid by all of our tax dollars. So while they answer to their constituents, they still represent the city as a whole, whether they like it or not.
Yeah,
Well, and
well
the other
said.
thing that I think that we've addressed different times in your Bossier Watch programs, I live just outside the city limits, but I have a right to speak in any meeting just like any citizen, and they can't stop my speech. And when I'm commenting on the agenda, it is constitutional that they cannot stop my speech on that agenda item. I get my 3 minutes to comment on the agenda, regardless of how they interpret what my intentions are.
Yeah, and let me add one more comment.
Let's get back to the audio
agenda.
Yeah. Let me add one more comment, and we'll go right back into the problem. Colonel is, and they know this. The only way to force that, because they'll just have the marshals escort you out. The only way to force that is to bring a lawsuit, file for injunctive relief, and all that, which costs money, and most people are not going to do that, and they know that, and that itself is an intimidation factor. But let's get back to the audio and video. All right, let's see.
It was, I can't remember her name, but she's friends with, what's her name? She's friends with.
That's a senior moment.
You took them out of her yard?
That's okay.
The woman who told me to take it out. The woman who told me to take it out. She said it's on my property line and I don't want it.
But you can't stop them when they ride.
No, that's not true. You can't put a sign. You can't put a sign where nobody wants it.
So let me ask you, Colonel, and this is, I don't want to spend much time on this because it's going to lead into the discussion after this. You have proof that these people didn't want these signs, correct?
Yeah, because each of those people had told me that they didn't, but then now we have the proof, which is when the police came. We'll talk about that in a minute, but now I can verify all of this.
Okay, so let's proceed on. And folks, y'all heard that. We're going to get to the police department discussion here in just a few minutes. All right, here we go. So at this point, I guess y'all are carrying the signs in the store or whatever.
Right. This is with the one man. This is not, Vince is not in the picture until he starts talking.
Okay.
Yeah. And I didn't want to, and there's two more signs in there that people, I'll tell you where they were. One was like, But they're doing things like I had two signs on this woman's house, and they took our signs out, and the
Vince
woman
is
was
still
almost
not in the
crying
picture.
when I went there. So people are intimidating, these college kids are intimidating some of these older women. I'm telling you, I'm going to talk to Vince, but, you know, I mean, I don't like what Vince is doing. Hey, what do you say?
Well,
Okay.
hold up a second. Stop.
All right.
So, you know, Colonel, you keep saying the college kids. Well, just a little while ago, I think it was Cassie, whenever we were talking about that and talking about, you described the girl with Cassie as being a college age kid, but Cassie said, no, this was a grown woman that was doing it. So
I was probably, let me answer your question. I think I can address that. The kid that I ran into in the Brownlee subdivision was a college age kid. I may have misinterpreted what Cassie said. So if that's the first time, I just didn't catch that because I only talked to Cassie briefly when she told me that. So that could have been a mistake on my part, and I would correct that.
okay.
So if I misinterpreted what she said, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Here we
All
go.
right.
Let's go talk to the woman who said take it down.
Ain't no what. Oh, I had permission, man.
Come with me.
I had permission.
Man,
with me.
started at man.
Get down here. I don't put a sign up till I talk to the people.
You can't tell us it, and here's the thing.
No.
Wait, I got to point out right there. Hold on, let me back up just a little bit. I don't right here.
I don't put a sign up till I talk to the.
I don't put a sign up till I talk to the people. Now, how did he get a sign in these people's yards that obviously didn't want a sign because they asked the colonel to take it down and the cops showed up? We're getting to that. And they didn't force you to put the sign back up.
Let me just answer. The first lady that told me to take the sign out of her yard told me that I don't want any signs in my yard.
Fair enough.
I never get into the detail with anybody about who came to your house or anything like that, and I don't ask them questions. When she said she had had a bad experience with the police. She had just moved into that house about a week before I came to the door, and they didn't know that these people had bought the house. So the police had come in kind of inspecting, and so I detected right away that she had been, she was a little bit nervous about anybody, especially police. But anyway, so I can only assume what somebody tells me, and she said to me, I don't want any signs in my yard. Because I said, well, if you want the Maggio sign removed, can I put my sign in your yard? And she said, no, I don't want any signs in my yard.
Okay, good point.
That's what that woman said.
All right. Duke, you got a question? We're ready to hit play.
Nope, keep going.
And here's the thing.
No. You on my property. I'm telling you.
You want me to give you the
Yeah, give me the. I talk to everybody. Everybody.
Well, you can
No, I don't trust you. Throw this store, boy. You hear what I said?
Yeah, Vince,
You hear what I said, boy? Sorry.
Well, let's just real quick. Vince probably has 1,000 signs out.
Right.
Do you think that Vince talks to everybody?
I'm wondering if he actually pushes the signs down in the yard, if he has somebody, and it's okay if he does, if he has somebody doing it for him.
He can do anything he wants to do, but I think that's Vince just, sometimes you just pass gas when you have to, I guess. I don't know.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
You put your stuff off the website?
I didn't put it on the website. No.
Did you block Westbury?
No, I don't have to watch. I don't watch people like you. You're trash.
People like you trash.
You go put my signs back up or you go to jail.
No, you're not.
You gonna put my signs back up or you going to jail, even though you didn't take anything or steal anything.
Well, when are you supposed to go, Colonel? I mean, are you supposed to go turn yourself in or what? Are they going to come get you?
I keep my porch light on. So whenever the police come, I'll be waiting.
Wouldn't that be a Hooten exclusive? You get arrested during the show. What if they knock on your door right now? That'd be great. Make sure and take your camera over there and record the whole thing.
I will. I'll make sure I'm recording.
All right,
keep going.
Because I'm going to sue
Oh,
you.
I want to sue you. You ain't got nothing. I'm telling you that.
You can't put it.
Y'all put sign up.
I'm kind enough to bring your sign back.
No, you took my sign up,
You took my signs down.
I don't
too.
touch. I ain't touched no sign.
4,300.
Are you
Brown
crazy?
League. Yeah.
No way.
Your
I put
people took
signs
them
up. No, my people ain't never. Don't hand me
And
this.
your people were out there intimidating Cassie May Rogers when she was campaigning.
No, sir.
You just told me somebody else was intimidating.
Yeah.
You didn't tell me that. You
All you do is laugh.
Let's pause right there.
Yeah, he was trying to take up all the bosses there.
I agree. That's exactly right. That's the way I perceived it. And I wanted them to know that their boss can really exaggerate things. What does Cassie May Rogers think about whether she was being intimidated? I hope Cassie can type something and ask her how that made her feel when she was campaigning and somebody was yelling over her while she was talking at the door to somebody.
Well, it just so happens Cassie has a question for you. Will you still bring his signs back when a ton of other people tell you to take them, or are you going to throw them in the damn trash?
You know, what the police told me later on is the way, if you want to bring the signs back, or to take, if you remove the sign yourself, to just get them to sign a piece of paper saying that you asked them that they asked me to remove it. And to me, the easiest way to deal with it is let the person themselves put it in their trash.
Yes. All right. So here we go, and then we'll get to the police part.
Intimidated. So you
The college kids were intimidating Cassie May Rogers.
No,
when she
sir.
was at a door.
No, sir. You was scared. You scared that college kid. No, listen, boy. I'm telling you. I can't
Listen, boy.
I got 2 more signs for you. You can't tell me to put signs where they don't
Now,
want them, Ben.
pause right here. Now, this is when we go back behind my car and we're all there, and I'm trying to get the additional signs out, and I've got 5 people all the way around me, and this lady, whoever it was, is sitting there trying to stick her, really, she made an ass out of herself. But it's kind of like what you see, even worse than, because she did it in such an animated way. So if that was Miss Maggio, I'm not trying to call you an ass, but it really did kind of make a fool of yourself. But whoever it was, whoever's working there, you didn't need to do that. And I wasn't doing anything wrong, but I kind of felt comforted because if I happened to accidentally bump into Vince and he sicked one of his boys on me, it was being recorded.
Right. All right, here we go.
I'm being kind enough to give your signs back to you.
No.
You're such a nice guy.
No.
But you've taken down signs.
I ain't took no signs.
Yes, you
down.
have.
Oh, you crazy, boy.
4,300 Brownlee.
Oh, I ain't took no signs.
Go talk to the woman. She's
Oh,
a
I ain't
retired
talking-
military wife.
That don't mean
She was
nothing.
almost crying because your people intimidated her.
That's a lie,
Yeah.
mister. Cause you been lying on us. I ain't did nothing.
Vince, I know you're kind.
Oh, you know you're kind. I know you're kind, mister. You know good.
You want me to explain that?
Yeah. Explain what you meant. Give us context.
Yeah, about a week ago, there was a lady that had a Brownlee, or out at Brownlee, that had a big Vince Maggio sign on one side of her house. And I knocked on her door and I said, "Would you mind if we put a sign on your corner here?" And I put 2 nice signs right there facing both ways because it's right in front of the park. And it's this Japanese woman who had a little bit of a struggle with some of her English, but just a real sweet woman. And so I put that there, and then I went driving around a couple of days later because I was still walking Brownlee, and the sign was gone. And I knocked on her door, and I said, "Ma'am, what happened to the sign?" And she said, "Somebody come to the door," and she was kind of, "I don't know what to do." And she was really, you could tell she was embarrassed that she was having to explain to me that somebody came and knocked on her door and took her signs down. So I'm just telling you, this woman, number one, she's in a country that she's not, she probably lived here a long, long time, but she could barely speak English.
Right.
And so, yes, she was intimidated. So anyway, that's what we're referring to there. I just told her, I said, "Ma'am, I'm not going to try to put a sign in here again." You don't have to explain it to me. I'm sorry that you're in the middle of this. So, sometimes you just apologize and move on.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, well,
But you don't.
that's definitely a way to handle that. I
Yeah.
mean, because it's
Right.
obvious. Because I have heard reports of people being, a gang of people go into a door and trying to pressure people, and just in that instance right there, that's shameful. There's no way somebody should feel scared or intimidated over a political council race. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Good point. Here we go.
Amen.
You're intimidating people. That's why the woman was almost crying.
Oh, no, that's you. You're lying to it. You listen to me, mister.
You are worried because you're in here in front of your people.
I just got out of the council. No.
Hey, you're right, because I'm calling you out for the crap you're doing.
Calling me out, no.
Hey, Vince, did you block?
You ain't calling me out nothing.
I didn't block nobody.
Oh, you didn't block nobody?
No, I got my own phone.
So,
I don't have to listen
so
to
your
y'all.
Facebook, you didn't block West Marriott?
Yeah, I need an officer at Mad Joe's Grocery.
Did you block West Marriott?
Come on. Oh, I got a man down here took my signs down.
He makes it sound like you took the grocery signs down, Colonel.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so
let me make a comment here.
Yeah.
Is that the way you want your mayor to talk? Because Vince was going to run for mayor.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So I want to stop right there and let's get into the part, because it's already about 12 minutes after 8. Let's get into the part. What happened after you left the store? You got in your vehicle. Apparently he had called Bossier PD or whatever. They, I guess, sent some officers out, whatever. So tell us that story forward.
Right. So,
Colonel, hold that thought. I want to say, I'm wondering if Vince thinks that the over 6,000, which there was a lot of duplication, but the over 6,000 people that signed the petition in Bossier for term limits, that he pissed on all of their signatures. Does he think they're trash? Does he think of them as boys, or demeaning terminology? Does he view all those people that disagree with him in that way? I mean, is that his view of everybody? I mean,
let me just say
anyway,
this.
I'm sorry.
I don't
I
know
didn't
Vince's
want to lose that
IQ.
thought.
I don't know Vince's IQ, but I don't think that he is able to rationally understand the people's desires.
Okay, fair enough.
We'll prompt Colonel again. I'm sorry, I cut you off. I wanted to get that in while I was thinking it.
Absolutely. All right, so Colonel, take us from the point. Vince is on the phone. He calls Bossier PD. Y'all dealt with the signs. You get in your car and leave. Correct? Take us from that point forward.
Right. So I knew the police would be trying to interview me, eventually. And so I thought the best thing for me to do was leave anyway, because Vince was really trying to intimidate me. So, so I went ahead and departed the area and went back to the house where the sign that I'd just taken out of the yard, that the person said it wasn't that she had never given them approval to put the sign there. So I thought that would be the best place for the police to come to me rather than sitting there with a bunch of men around and the whole factor that we had going on there. So I went to her house. I called the dispatcher and I said, I know the police are at Vince Maggio's store. And I said, I gave him the address and I said, come out here if you want to interview me. I'll be glad to address all the issues. So we just waited until they got there, and it took a few minutes. But I will just say one thing. We just finished with a video. That was only 6 minutes of time. That's not a lot of time for all that to happen. So now and that was about 5:10 in the afternoon, something like that. So around 5:30, the police get to the lady's house, and I don't even want to refer to exactly where it is because I don't want anybody to bother her. But anyway, so the lady and I were talking, and I prepped her for what was going on, and she was a little bit nervous to have gone through that, but they were going to interview her anyway. They had to. So I explained to her, let's just wait here. And she agreed. She thought that was the best thing to do. And so the police came, interviewed her separately. I took them out, showed them where the sign was. There was apparently the next door neighbor that I found out later. I didn't know this at the time. The next door neighbor had given them approval to put the sign in their yard. But when you look at the fence line there, I went out with the police, and it was very clear that if you follow the fence line behind or between the two houses, that it was well inside this lady's yard. And then, interestingly, while we were still doing the interview with the police, the son of this lady comes, and the son is the guy who was there when they built the house. You know, as an adult, he built their house, and he said very clearly that sign was in her yard. So the police got several bits of information real quick about the number one sign, and so the police were getting very good satisfaction that my understanding when I took the sign was that the sign was in fact on her yard, and they could move on to the next sign. But they took both of our interviews.
All right. Now,
And then the
did
other thing
y'all?
is I gave the police this audio as well.
Okay. Now, did y'all move to any of the other locations or speak to any of the other people, or was that the end of it?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was very, I didn't know that they would want to do this when they got that one first affirmation of what I said, that it was actually true, even though Vince is calling me a liar, 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 or whatever he called me, a boy liar. I don't know what he called me. But anyway, so yeah, we got in the cars and they followed me over to the funny thing is the other two houses were back to back. So, and I had, every time I passed by there, there's this one real sweet black family that they're just a real cute family that I got to know a little bit because I was sitting there talking to them. And they were never home because I stopped there. I'm going to bring them cookies. They're just really kind of a cute family that I got to know. So, but anyway, I knocked on the first house, and lady popped up. She just gave me a big smile, and she knew I was military. She was retired military, and I said, I just prompted her and said, "You remember that you told me to remove the sign that you didn't want in your yard?" And she just said, "Oh yeah," and so the police goes, "That's enough. That's all I need to know." So then we walked right around the corner. Didn't have to get in the car or anything else. Go to the other house and knocked on the door. And I really didn't think they'd be there, but the police just popped out right away. I can just say bluntly that yes, we told him to take the sign out. We didn't want that sign in our yard. So that's all I asked them. That's what they said. They didn't want the sign in their yard. So now, interestingly, they didn't want a sign in their yard, but another of Vince's signs, after that one was removed, popped up in the yard.
Like the next day or
And
something like
so
that?
I have no idea, but the next time that I drove by it, there was a Vince sign. I didn't drive up and say, "Hey, do you want me to remove that sign too?" I'm not trying to be a turd about this, but my sign stayed there. I'm happy with that, you know. And so, but anyway, but that's the conclusion of that. The police were very kind. I love Motor City Police. They were very professional about all this, and but that's kind of the way the thing went with the police. And I'll get a
So,
report back in a couple of days.
so there's a couple of takeaways here. One, I mean, the will of people in Bossier, or whether they want, a sign or not, obviously their desire is being disregarded. And that's not a lie, as Vince accused you of lying. That's not a lie. The police went literally and took statements, and we don't have the body cam footage. Heck, the city, we've already filed public information requests for all of this, and the city attorney's office has not even acknowledged our request yet, in which they're not. They will they're going to drag the time out as long as possible because they don't want us to be able to show the public that the people who you say said these things, they're not going to want us to show the public this. So my question is because right now, and I've got screenshots of a lot of you, and if some of you want to go see it, you can go to Vicky Whitman's page. There you go. And there's a lot of people saying, describing the people that are not supporting Vince with disparaging remarks and against you. And, you know, I mean, how do they deny this? Do they deny it just like Vince is now denying that he took away the rights of the citizens of Bossier by refusing to put it on the term limits on the ballot? I mean, because that's what it seems like. How do you vote for Vince when you're faced with these truths? These aren't lies. These are facts. I mean, how do you do that? Because you have to just be ignoring these things. You've got to ignore it to not take ownership in it. I don't know. It's a paradox to me.
Well, look, Duke, I think the key point here is this has been a battle for 2 years about the city council doing the right thing. I was trained by my mother. It was reiterated in 30 years of service that you do the right thing all the time, and then you don't have to get in these little back and forth battles. And I think that that's what's been lost in this whole thing is that the city council did not follow their charter. When I point out in city council meetings that Vince Maggio and Jeff Darby don't follow the charter, and really I'm pointing it out about the whole five of the recalcitrant five, the whole issue is that they know what it means. And we both know, all three of us know, that when they tried to do this court action, it was to delay to keep the term limits that we have off the ballot in December because it would have been the deciding issue. And that's the bottom line is they did not do the right thing.
Yeah, well, and look, that's been the premise all along. And what I've told a lot of people is the whole term limits thing is not about term limits anymore, really. It is shifted. I mean, yes, the term limits are still important, but it is shifted. They literally are breaking the law flagrantly. They're not even trying to hide it. They're literally doing it at public meetings. And so we're well beyond the point of just term limits. It's like we've said, lawlessness now, and it's on full display for everybody to see.
Hey, let me add one comment, and I know it's probably that you probably don't need much more from me. I went back and looked at the original opinion that they got about whether it was constitutional or not to have retroactive term limits. The report that they paid probably almost $50,000 for said that our term limits proposal is likely constitutional. They paid $50,000 for that report.
Right.
Then the 26 JDC said that what we were doing, he didn't make a ruling on whether it was constitutional for retroactive, but the city council didn't have a choice. So we've had 4 judges now, and I had one of Vince Maggio's friends, one of the maybe 5 people who wanted to just say, don't talk to me, I support Vince. Probably no more than 5 out of 6 or 7 days of actual walking out street. They don't care whether Vince, they say he may be guilty of malfeasance in office. But the reality that we know is that if the district attorney does not take this seriously, it's because it's Bossier City's council.
Well,
and I
yeah,
think that's where the
Texas
people
in.
need to get active. Right. But anyway, I appreciate you guys for letting me on and talking about this. And I don't care if people try to slander me. I don't care if Vince Maggio tries to slander me. To me, I live my life by one principle: do the right thing. Be honest.
Look, I'll say this. You are an absolute machine when it comes to walking neighborhoods. You take out on your own, and you know, it's like the Energizer Bunny or one of the wind-up toys, and you just go. And there's no denying that. And you are a little bit of a pot stirrer at the meetings, but that's good. We need people, whether it's Miss Alice Boyer or whether it's Cassie or whether it's anybody. We need citizens to go to those meetings and question what they're doing. Period. Whether they're doing good stuff or not, they need to be questioned. And I think you and everybody included that goes to the meetings are doing a fine job of questioning their authority. They just need it. All of them. Any elected official needs that.
And for those people that think that citizens of Bossier should not have a right to petition their government, or they think that citizens of Bossier should not have a right to decide who puts political signs in their yards or not, by all means, there is a campaign for you. You should get involved. They need you. There's still grass growing in Bossier.
And Vince could probably use about 5 more workers at his store.
You lie. You lie.
Mr. Boy, trash.
You're a liar, boy.
I'm a liar.
All right, Colonel.
Hey, but when the police report comes out, I hope you guys enjoy it, and we'll see what people think.
All right, sounds like a plan. Well, I appreciate you coming on and giving us the play-by-play and letting the information get out there from your side of things, which I think will be proven also by the police report. I'm sure it's exactly as you say, and Vince can just take that and chew on that fat.
Amen. Thank y'all.
All right.
Thanks.
Well, that was interesting.
You heard it right there from the horse's mouth. I was a little worried about that, but I will tell you the comments that I'm seeing, from the other folks just automatically, disparaging, not knowing the facts is pretty amazing. It doesn't matter. I mean, you could eat a baby in some places, and it's okay. And I don't know how you do that. I can't understand that.
Well, I mean, look, some people, Vince is their friend or whatever the scenario is, or has done stuff for them in the past. I don't know, whatever the deal is, or they're just straight up friends with Vince. That's okay. But I've got plenty of friends. Look, you and I are friends, but we've got a rule. If we do something stupid, we'll call each other out. And we can hopefully still be friends afterwards, but that doesn't mean we just go lock, stock, and barrel along with anything somebody does just because they're friend or they've done us a favor in the past. And I think that's what you see, not just in Vince's campaign and his little orbit. I think you see that in a lot of campaigns and with a lot of politicians. But
yeah, no doubt. And I would say to people, if in all seriousness, if you feel moved about these issues and you think that, these things that you hear are important, you should get involved. I mean, you should go support and help a campaign. Jeff Darby, he sent a letter wanting to bring in more illegals, to our community, and he wants to run away from that. That's a cause of action. It's a cause of action for people to vote for his opponent, Deborah Rawls.
Yeah.
I find Vince's opposition to term limits egregious. He didn't have a choice. He made a decision to ignore the will of the people of Bossier City. The charter and the law is clear. If this many number of citizens petition, it will be put on a ballot bypassing the council. That's the purpose of it, is to prevent political people with a bias from stopping the people's will. But what did Vince do? Vince chose to stop the will of the people. That is a cause of action. Yeah. And if that does not, get your dander up, or as some people say, if that don't light your kindling, nothing will.
Very, very true. All right. So we're already at an hour and a half. Do you want to go ahead and change gears and move into the city council meeting? You want to save that for another show?
I tell you
Your
what,
call.
let's hit those Tuesday
Okay.
night.
That sounds like a plan. I think so. I think we've wrapped it up tonight. Now, look, folks, I want to say this too before we get off the air tonight. As you noticed, we've kind of intermixed a few Thursday night shows here and there in the past. So I want to ask everybody's opinion. Y'all let us know in the comments, and you can do it after the show or whatever. Would you like to see us move to Thursday nights? Because honestly, that gives us a little more time when city council meetings are during the week and on a Tuesday. And also, the police jury meetings are typically on a Wednesday. I forget about the school board meetings, but anyway, gives us a little bit more time to kind of analyze some of that and maybe talk about it on a Thursday. So we're thinking about doing that, but let us know what you folks think about in the comments. Move it to Thursday. Keep it on. Do you like it better on Tuesdays? What's the deal?
Anyway,
That's
thanks.
about all I got.
That's it. Thanks everybody for coming. Hope y'all enjoyed the audio, that Colonel Crockett provided. I, I haven't stopped laughing and being shocked at the same time. Yeah, even still now.
Boy. Sign boy. All right, I'm hitting the finish button. We're done, folks. Y'all like and share this one out, and I will post that whole audio transcribed video here shortly. See y'all later.
See you, boy. See you, boy.